Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome back to another AMO. I'm Z, joined today as always by Winlung, Sun Yoga, and our guest today, Mmmingpha, Dhama, Msaluhi, Unswi.
Yes, indeed.
Did I get that right?
Yes, I'm a Dhama, Msaluhi, Unswi, which is Dharma, peacemaker, traveling monk.
Cool. And we were just talking about slang off camera.
Yeah. You should know that people hear Msaluhi and even my name, Mmmingpha, you hum the M's, and we were talking about how Al-Kibulan, I known as Africa, the people in this continent, in North America, that are from Al-Kibulan ancestry, speak the Al-Kibulan ancestry in America akin to a lot of the Bantu languages, which the one that I know is Swahili because I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa, and I've been studying Swahili more intensely over the past 3 years. And the more I learn, the more I realize we have definitely taken where we're from, our ancestry, our roots, and reapplied it here. And the more we become liberated, the more of it comes out, including like rock being created, rock music being created, jazz being created prior to rock, and then eventually hip-hop. Hip-hop poetry is really how it started with the last poets. I think the last poets, if I'm not mistaken, formed the day that Martin Luther King Jr. got assassinated. Yeah.
What's the story there?
From what I have studied and read, the day that MLK got assassinated, they met that night in New York City somewhere and created the Last Poets.
Wow.
They were already, I think, working together. And there's a possibility that what I'm saying is not completely precise. But to my recollection, because when I read it, it really struck me. The Last Poets were already doing poetry, already working on it, but they officially formed the night that Martin Luther, the night of the day that they found out MLK Jr. got assassinated.
Wow. So the revolutions could be televised.
Yeah, pretty much. And then if you look at what their work led to, them and Gil Scott-Heron were the main poets that brought in that you're playing the drum and you're saying poetry over the drum beat. You know, and then it led to eventually, I think eventually Kool Herc, and Bambaataa and a lot of other people took that and built upon it more. And we're already doing community gatherings, parties and stuff, graffiti art, breakdancing and all that. And then One Sugar Hill Gang and King T, because King T came out around the same time. Once their songs got released in the late 70s, 79, then that became a popular thing. And then, so right at the end of the 70s, we came into the 80s with hip-hop.
Wow.
Being a on record.
Yeah.
Feels like part of that beatnik tradition as well. I mean, I'm not really versed in it, but I know what I've seen in pop culture, you know, with the berets and the snapping and the, you know, that vibe of like, you know, finding unique ways to ride the rhythm that's really human and innate. And saying I love that.
There's an argument with, if you look at old, even YouTube videos and stuff, just old archives, there was an argument between the Last Poets and LL Cool J. There's an argument, because the Last Poets were kind of well known in the community, and they were opposing LL Cool J's mid-'80s, lackadaisical, not paying attention to the issues, too much party music, too much braggery, bragging, battling, all these other things except for what our people are suffering from and what we need to overcome. You know? And he was representing basically the sellouts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I never thought of it that way. In a sense.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that he wasn't speaking on the message and the time it was, and that he did have a whole different angle on what he was doing.
Yeah, it made me feel differently because I've known earlier, prior to the whole thing with him and cannabis, I thought LL was like pretty tight. I always felt pretty good about LL growing up. But I didn't learn about hip hop until the mid 80s, like 86 from Run DMC. I think the first person I really learned from was Dougie Fresh. That was the first cat that I really liked as a child. It was Dougie Fresh, and then the beatboxing, and then the Dougie Fresh songs. Then I got like, I think I heard The Message shortly after that, with the Furious Five and Grandmaster Flash, Melly Mel, and all them. And then I heard Run DMC shortly after that, all like in 86, 87. You know? So that was like when I got into it. I was like 6, 7 years old. I was breakdancing by the time I was 8. And that was like the whole vibe with that. And then by the time I was 8, Public Enemy started getting huge. And so PE just took it. OP was the first rap group that was my favorite rap group. And when I look at that period of time up to now with the whole Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace, much thanks and blessings to the family of Brother Aramaya, and definitely many blessings to his mother and his father, entire family. When you look at what happened from then to now, I feel like the Last Poets were very correct. The way that they had that debate with LL, and they had a news story about it at that particular time, they knew what they were talking about. Because you got to think it's not gangster rap in the political form of what do you call it, sabotage that it came in, because it was a political tool. They took it from reality rap, and then these politicians started to try to blame stake rock and roll and rap, and that was when the gangster rap thing got coined. It wasn't gangster, it was reality rap. I remember when we were having the argument in the early 90s about it. Because they were pissed off about Ice-T with the Cop Killer song, which I still like that song to this day. Even though like I'm a monk and I don't support people murdering each other, I still like the song. I'm feeling it, you know? I think
it rotation in my house.
Yeah, I think a song that surpasses it is when you get in the Pump Your Black Fist, the David Banner song. I don't know if any of you have ever seen that.
David Banner is deep, man. Now, can't say I'm really up on his music per se, but of late in the last couple of years, catching some interviews, what he's doing now with his life, and he talks about how can we be mad at these kids wanting their money? What did we tell them life was about? Got to get that money. It's what, he goes, I did it too. I didn't know what I created, but now that he's an OG and he's a veteran, he's getting into that next stage in his life. He's on a whole different tip of educating people and dropping some knowledge right now.
Yeah, so I feel like we need to rename our elders too, because I'm noticing with the Nipsey Hussle thing, there's a lot of background drama. I think, and I call it background drama because the primary thing is that we lost a brother that I feel like in a more long-term way would have had a stronger impact than Tupac had. Tupac musically was pretty amazing, but his capability to be there for his community the way he wanted to was more mature. Where Nipsey's approach to the community, even though I don't like Nipsey as much lyrically, I felt from listening to Nipsey that he had the potential to become a great MC. He had the foundational know-how to eventually become a great MC, and as far as his sense of community, I found out about him more from being a community person. From West Coast brethren that would keep talking about him. I would keep hearing about him from brothers that used to be in the hood or were going back and forth. I heard about him, and that was how I originally heard about him. I've known about him for like just maybe the past 2 years, but there's a possibility 4 years ago I'd heard about him, but I paid it no mind. Because it's a part of the whole, I like to say off the cliff top hip hop, meaning cats is suicide in hip hop. and I'm not with the off the cliff top hip hop, you know? It's like on the edge of the cliff, jumping off, committing suicide, you know, suiciding our traditions and suiciding our way of life. I'm not with the off the cliff top hip hop. So when I first probably even heard his name, I just was like, I'm cool. I'm not with the off the cliff top hip hop type stuff. But when I heard about him officially, where he became a person that I remembered, it was community. There's this MC that gives back to his community, and the kind of enthusiasm I would hear when people would talk about him. So when I heard that he got killed, the first thing in my reflection was we lost an activist.
Yeah.
We lost a down-to-earth brother that was an activist. How deep does it go? And then when I started studying it, this is deep. Oh, this goes real deep. Oh, okay, and then it got to the point where Kenyatta, if I'm not mistaken, his close friend, when I saw Kenyatta and what Kenyatta had to say about it on YouTube, I was like, okay. Now I have I'm watching a mature Al-Kibulan American or African American man talk about what was actually going on in the situation and giving feedback. So my suspicions were then brought to a nice warm light. Okay, I'm not crazy. I thought that this was, and then when I found out about it, not to say that Nipsey is like Malcolm X. Malcolm X is Malcolm X. He was a special man. Betty Shabazz was a special woman. But I kind of felt that.
Another one of those people who was starting to shine.
So Malcolm supposedly got killed by the Nation of Islam. I think that there were corrupt elements of the Nation of Islam that participated in the downfall that led to it, the buildup. I don't feel like, from what Richard Gregory, also known as Dick Gregory, from the information that he put on the web and from what he was talking about, I don't feel like the Nation of Islam actually killed Malcolm. I feel like it was the CIA and the FBI. And they say that the bullets that hit Malcolm's body, the trajectory was from above.
Well, there was another shooter.
Yeah. And when you look, Malcolm was on a podium in the Audubon Ballroom, and supposedly they came out of the seats in the bottom and shot him.
Oh, okay.
So the trajectory would be slightly up. Why is the trajectory down? And what was said was that they had people impersonating the Nation of Islam, opening fire with blanks, and then the CIA and FBI were in the roof actually shooting him. So and then this isn't even in the autopsy. This is in there.
Well, we know that there's a lot of people in this world, a lot of people with power and money, and there's definitely agendas happening in this world that are...
Look no further than the Mueller report. Look no further.
Well, you mentioned the word sabotage earlier. That word itself comes from an Asian shoe, which is called a sabat, which they would put in the gears. The people who worked in the places to upset the mechanism at play, they put their sabats in the gears so they would stop working. So they then became saboteurs, initiating sabotage.
Okay.
Which is beautiful because sometimes those gears will crush us. And I love rap as a poetry device because we can speak on all these things with these words. And just like you're speaking to getting a longer view on our history, we can see what these words mean. Yeah. And I mean, the more we want to, the more we go, all right, now I'm saying something deep. Yeah. Like you were saying, like he was in the community. He was trying to point to a further history.
Yeah, I think the important thing, after I left hip hop in 2000 when I was 20, and I was on a hiatus for 12 years. I didn't start flowing again until right after, pretty much immediately after I moved to Oregon at the end of 2012. And I hadn't written a verse for like 12 years. Mm-hmm. I still freestyle here and there. I still had the thought patterns of an MC. I still had the thought patterns of a poet. I still had the heart of a poet. And I would express it sometimes, but I would do it in private. Because every time, including here, that I've started flowing, it always attracted a lot of attention. Yeah. So I was really careful growing up. I think even like just the first 2 or 3 months that I started rhyming, I started rapping when I was 14. I started doing poetry when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And there was a difference from when I got into poetry and when I got into hip-hop. Mm-hmm. When I was in poetry, it was cool. You're learning something deep about yourself. You're bringing something deep out of other people. My 3rd grade teacher had me do an anthology kind of book of poems. So I had Shel Silverstein poems. I wrote my own poems, and then I got my family, or my birth family actually, because I don't communicate with them anymore, but I got my birth family at the time, who I was close with, to write stuff, write poems and add to it. It was like a project for the class. So I got to get out of everything, you know, the brethren and sisterin in my family to be involved, primarily the sisterin, wrote poems, put stuff in there, and I got to see how everybody's feelings really were. I got to look at my own stuff, and I got to like look at what I appreciated about poetry. So that was like a deep thing that I think put me more in the deeper respect and appreciation for like Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou in particular. Hip-hop was more like, you can flow. Now there's cats that want to battle you. You know what I mean? And you're like, everybody's, oh, snap, he can flow. You can flow, what? Mm-hmm. You know, and you're just like, all right, cool. But it's almost like this, like, dang, like, is this a good thing? You know, dudes is coming up to me on the bus. Mm-hmm. Oh, you can rhyme? Let's battle. Mm-hmm. Dang, dude. I've only been flowing for like 3 months. Dudes is cheating. They don't want to battle, because I was a freestyle dude. I was a freestyle cat. I didn't start writing until 2 months after 2 months after I was flowing.
And you're saying they're cheating because they had pre-written rap.
They had written stuff. Cats is battling you with written stuff.
Y'all know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Come in, let's battle.
Yeah.
You know? And they want to do the whole show. We're on the bus and do a whole thing. Mm-hmm. Then you find out after the battle's over that was written. Nobody, like, the people liked it for entertainment, but everybody knows who won the battle because most people know that dude wrote that. Mm-hmm. You know? And even his own friends is like, you know, okay, you look good. You look like you won, but we all know you didn't win. It's one of them things like, let's see. But he's also I'll put it like this. Say you're the cat, the first dude I battled, you know, which was on a bus. I was like naive. I didn't know what was really going on. I was like, okay, I guess we'll do that, right? He knows you, okay? So we're MCs. It can be competitive sometimes. I didn't know how competitive it was. And so you do your thing, you cheat, we battle. I do okay. I do pretty good. I definitely did really good for a dude that had only been freestyling for 2 months. I was really skilled for somebody that just got into it. You've been in it longer than me, and you battle me with a written thing, right? He knows what's actually going on because he's your friend. So there's like one of those things where it's like, okay, it looked good for the crowd at the time, but everybody kind of knows what's actually going on. And at the end of the day, if you and him battle a year or two later, he's totally going to pull up.
I got that ammo.
You cheated.
That's the finishing move.
It's gonna come out.
Yeah. Like,
it's gonna hit the news.
You've been cheating for years.
Yeah.
You bought us all beer.
Yeah. It's gonna hit street news that you cheated. Cash is going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was one of those. It was weird. Sure. It was just weird to go through that and see it, and so like, and then when I got better. it started to get to the point that it didn't matter if I freestyle or if I kicked a written one, you know. And then I developed, I don't know if people do this anymore, but there's freestyle, there's written, and there's free flow. Free flow is when you combine all of it. Free flow is when I have my written stuff, I know like one paragraph from this rhyme, one paragraph from that rhyme, and then the freestyle is the main base. So I'm freestyling, and then I pull in this written thing. Yeah. And I'm freestyling some more. I pull in this written thing. I battle you with everything that I have. If an MC was well rounded, they would free flow battle. When it was time to battle, you have free flow battle. It'd be mostly written and a little bit of freestyle, or like half written, half freestyle. You know, or some people all written and battling the free flow MC. But when you wanted to step it up and do your utmost,
no freestyle.
Yeah, for free flow or written and free flow. You know, so I don't think people do that anymore. I think a lot of times when people unfortunately hear me, even though my freestyle is really good now, I think some people don't get that I'm freestyling for real. Because I can freestyle for like 10 minutes or longer and just go. I freestyle on my radio show. We have a freestyle weather report on my radio show that I created where the station manager is saying the weather and I'm freestyling the rest of it. And I got banging beats in the background and all that. Yeah.
That's the weather report.
Where can we hear that and when?
Oh, so my show is on KSKQ 89.5 FM Ashland, 94.1 Medford, and it plays from 8 to 9 in the morning from Monday to Friday currently. Nice. And the show is called Honua Moyo Dhammapada. So Honua is Hawaiian for planet. Much respect to Hawaii and the indigenous traditions and land there. Moyo is Swahili for heart, and Dhammapada is the poetic teachings of the Buddha, and it's something that a lot of Buddha practitioners listen to. So my whole thing is to bring the Dharma to the planet and the power of the Dharma to the planet. Yeah, which is why I decided to be a Dhama Msaluhi Unswi instead of a traditional Buddha monk. I live by, if anything, the Buddha monk traditions, more so than anything else, and the sadhu traditions more than anything else. I just don't say that I'm a sadhu or like a sadhu because I'm in an environment and even in a country that abuses traditions from Hindustan, which they know over here is India. People abuse it, you know, and I know what it's like to see our Kibulan tradition semi-abused or attempts to abuse it. We have too much presence in this country to really have it be full on. I don't like to say appropriated, basically plagiarized. You know, but Native American people go through a lot more with that. I'm mixed with Native American. I'm mixed with Lakota and Seminole. I'm also mixed with Celtic and with Cuban. And, you know, I feel like Native American people more than anybody because they're so marginalized and because the genocide was so bad and the colonialism was the most horrific for Native American people who are darker than a lot of people think. As far as skin complexion is concerned, they go through a lot, and I didn't really get to see it until coming over to the West Coast, how much they've gone through. So I don't want to say I'm a sadhu or say I'm this or say I'm that. One, because I haven't been around people from Hindustan, and even though I have some spiritual people from Hindustan that I know that are directly involved with yoga and stuff, and in an honorable way they're involved with it, I still don't want to say it because it's too much abuse. And Unswi is something that really is natural for me because I got offered to be a Zen monk. I got a strong offer to be a part of San Francisco Zen Temple when I was living there in 2010. And I left the temple to become a monk in the Dharma traditions. And so Unswi is a way of honoring the people who took me in at that temple, because there was actually an argument in that temple on whether I should be in there or not in the first place. There was some prejudice, strong prejudices about me even being into the temple. And people who learned from Suzuki Roshi really stood up for me and brought me in. So it's my way of honoring what happened, honoring Nihongo and Nihon traditions, which are Japanese, and respecting that ancestry and its blessings in my life. And Msaluhi is honoring my own ancestry, honoring Alkebulan. And Dhama, I prefer the Indonesian way of expressing Dhama instead of saying Dharma, because for some reason it just resonates with me more. I like the humming, Mmmingpha, Dhama. It just resonates with me really strong. So as far as what I look for in any music is Dharma. And so when I play stuff on my show, it's involving Dharma. And it's to show, hey, reggae has Dharma. Hey, hip-hop has Dharma. Hey, jazz has Dharma. Hey, international music has Dharma, and R&B has Dharma. These forms have Dharma in them. There's tons of other kinds of music that have it. I'm just playing that kind.
And when you say Dharma on that, do you mean spirit? Like the zeitgeist of
No,
the feeling?
I mean, people have different, there's not a huge variety of interpretations for Dharma, I think, when you get into the true meaning of it. But people from different countries have expressed it in different ways, but they all lead to purifying positive change.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what,
it's gonna make the, you play it, it's got the spirit in it, it's going to make the change.
Yeah, Dharma, from what I've experienced and just honoring the ancestral traditions, always purifies and always leads to positive change. Change is going to happen one way or the other. Dharma is to focus on the change, being a part of the positive continuum of the true flow of the infinite. Instead of, you got to change bad and learn that way before you realize that the change needs to, the infinite change is positive. But so go against the infinite and change negative until you figure that out. Or you can just go with the infinite positive and change in that way.
Yeah, I read in a book that we, for a long time as the species had picked to learn through death and destruction in the way that we've been learning.
Yeah.
But that the whole idea of this new shift in the era we are and everything is to start to choose no longer to have to kill to learn.
Yeah.
To no longer have to use the old models to learn these lessons anymore.
Yeah.
Because how we've been doing it for so long, and this is the whole shift in consciousness.
Yep.
The consciousness of our time.
Yeah, we've gotten to a place, I even feel like the current United States president embodies a lot of the aloofness that negativity causes. But the aloofness, I think, is a good thing because it leads to the true positive change happening. Because people tried to, there are plenty of tribes that were negative on this planet before European colonialism came. That led to, if you look at European colonialism as terminal cancer, which is how I look at it, there was pneumonias, over here in this continent. There was smallpox over here in this other continent. There was polio over here in this continent. There was like
the
different
disease manifests itself within that land, huh?
There was other stuff going on. There was even like smaller genocides. There was, and even like as far as European stuff, people don't realize how much of a tool racism and sexism are, and they take it more personal than they should. I get that if something's happened to you, you need to address it to prevent it, but they take it personal and they don't realize that it's literally a freaking tool. Even for the people who may get absorbed in it, it's only used because it's an effective form of control. It's the only reason. If it wasn't an effective form of control, primarily from what I've experienced, for demons to feed off of other people, if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't be used. And so people get all attached to the race issues, when there is no race in the first place, there's just tribes. You know? And yeah, we have a tribe that is particularly dangerous currently, and the people who are from that tribe that are participating in the tribe's Nazi activities, and any other tribes that have begun to collaborate with those Nazi activities are all going to go down. It's a part of a larger lesson. There's a larger lesson going on, and not to say that you shouldn't take those layers seriously. All the layers need to be taken seriously, but just know what the core thing is, you know. And that's why I like the Dharma traditions. I feel like, and from what I've observed factually, the Abrahamic religions, even though they have some positivities, they attract too much of a side effect of a vulnerability to negative issues like racism, sexism. They kind of, what I say like a religionism, meaning like people trapping themselves in a religion and attacking other people. My thing's better than your thing, you know, gang mentality type stuff, you know? So like the Dharma is more open, it's easier to breathe. I don't have to deal with, it's easier for me to look at what happened with Yeshua and with Yeshua's wife, who I feel like was a divine, not a whore, not a prostitute, not any of these, you know, the Euro-colonialism tends to demonize women. And then when you look at King James' apparent inclinations to demonize women, why would the Bible in King James Version be anything that's going to cater or even equalize or properly express the divine power of a woman? It's not going to happen. Yeah. This dude's running a country, running an empire. He's not. Look at these cats now running. Come on. You know? They're not going to reconstruct it to benefit people. You know, it's just not jumping off like that. So when we look at where our species has been ancestrally, if we're looking at it just from an external thing, I think species can go deeper into awarenesses and how people exist. But as far as the basic aspect of the species from an external point, when you look at people in our shape and size and expression and what they've done, it's been pretty daggone horrible for the past 5,000-6,000 years. You know, Tibet was like one of the last places.
So what's the conversation then that we need, that we're learning to have with people to take this further down evolution with the natural, I guess, Dharma flow of it? What is the new conversation?
So my current conversation with people is Mujihi Aloha. Mujihi is in Japanese, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm still learning Japanese, merciless.
Merciless aloha.
Yeah, merciless aloha. Just like, because you look, we're coming out of Nazi America. It is what it is. So instead of this, like, I'm American and I'm this, let's do this. Let's make the upside down Om. Let's make this, or let's even just turn it on this thing. Let's not even keep the Om in it. Let's do the other side and make this little flat piece of corkwood. Let's make this another place, all right? So let's call this place Itaba. So we got the land of Itaba. So you got orange, because the sticker's orange. You got the native orange people of Itaba, right? And then you got the napkiners. Yeah. So native people of Itaba have lived thousands of years on the land of Itaba. They've had positive relations, good relationships with each other. And then they get visitors. You know, they have visitors. The visitors are like more of a sickly group of people going through stuff, having certain issues. The native people of Itaba have their own empire collectively. So if you look at how you would look at a old Olmec or Mayan empire. Great structures, nature-based structures. Stuff is not polluting things. People have certain tribal hierarchies. Some tribes have kind of like a bullying relationship with other tribes. Tribes pay homage, give them a certain extra amount of their crop, stuff like that. So it's not like everybody is getting along. Dudes is getting bullied. Whenever you got bullies, you got problems. I grew up knocking out bullies. Nobody likes getting bullied. Bullies just causes a lot of problems. So then you get these visitors that come. So people, because they're not completely coalescing, there's this drama going on. Some people want what these people have to offer. Some people don't. A few people teach them how to live and do things. Some people avoid, from what I've studied. Then you have smallpox hits. So these people brought in a disease that destroys most of this area, right? So you got that going on. You got, let's not even call it smallpox. Let's call it, what was that thing? SARS?
Yeah.
Let's say it's SARS. So it's SARS, And let's not say that they're like napkin people. Let's pick something else like this rock right here. So we got the people of Rocklandia and the people of Itaba. People of Rocklandia are up in the spot. They bringing in SARS, and they don't know how to exist with the land as much. And the Itaba people have their own issues, and they're going through stuff, whether they should accept them, not accept them. People don't know how bad SARS is. SARS hits, and 3/4 of the population of Itaba dies. As a result. The Rocklandia people take advantage of that. More people migrate over, start taking over land. Wars start to commence. Things start to happen. And like over a period of, what is this, 300, 400 years? The Rocklandia people take over. Just the whole thing. Most of it's theirs. They're here. Only a small amount have native people. Then the Rocklandia people bring over the people of the land of the magic carpet. Magic carpet land people.
Are you ripping up my carpet, man?
No, I'm only taking loose pieces, I promise.
If you vacuumed once in a while, you wouldn't find all these dust bunnies.
Can we just use the
napkin
people?
We'll do this.
The napkin people work.
We'll do this. Well, yeah. So we'll do napkin. So they bring over napkin people. Napkin people are like brought over as slaves, and so napkin people are doing their thing. They're in any situation where you kidnap, like how we observe kidnapping is. And I'm doing this rough style, so for anybody that sees this in the near future, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm kicking it with some people that I'm comfortable with. We're just doing this. I'm kind of doing this unplanned. It's just happening. If I ever do this in the future, I'll do it more precisely. But I like the.
It's like a pretty accurate.
Yeah, I'm just
view of colonialism.
Yeah, so I'm just doing this open, and I don't want to do it just like colonialism, because I want people to not be so attached to it. I'm picking a lighter color because I want people to really look at this away from what they've gone through. Really look at this like you're watching a cartoon or a video game or a movie. Really look at it like, because if you don't learn how to look at things like this, you're not going to be able to free yourself. You're just not. No matter how free you think you are attached to the situation you were born in, and that is not going to help you free yourself. It's just not going to do it. There's only a certain height that you can get being attached to what you were born as. It's just not going to work. You're not going to get anywhere deeply until you can observe things from a universal perspective as an outsider coming in from a place of divinity, just looking at what's going on. When you can do that, then you can actually go into true healing. Your healing won't be so temporary. So this is like to show people that.
And that feels like the conversation you were asking about. That feels like the one to have.
And that's what Dharma is about. So like this, like the rock people are here. They're doing their thing. The napkin people have been kidnapped. Let's not even call them slaves. Look, the bottom line, they got kidnapped. They're being tortured, abused, and they're kidnappees. You know, and they develop a negative tradition of kidnapping, mind controlling, and manipulating these kidnappees for hundreds of years.
Kidnapkins.
Yeah, kidnappkins. So they become the people of. They become the people of. Let's see. Let's pick a. Let's pick like an honorable word. Normally, what do you call a napkin if it's like in a good? It's like a
Serviette.
A serviette. No. What's the thing? Handkerchief. So normally, these people were handkerchiefs. So you got the handkerchiefs become the napkin, the kid napkins.
They become the one ply.
The one ply. The kid. We're going to say kid napkins. So you got the Itabas, who are severely minimized. You got the Rocklandias, who have taken over and polluted, primarily through SARS, and took advantage of SARS disease. And then you have the handkerchiefs, who are now being called the racial slur, the kidnapkins, by the Rocklandias, you know, which is what you could say Negro or worse words are. And then they get to a point where there's revolts against being the kidnapkins. You know, there's revolts. There's eventually a big movement to free themselves from the situation and get more respect in Rocklandia. But I think that people are confused and not knowing how to really do that, you know. And so there's this state that exists for about 70 years where they're trying to figure out what it means to be free, you know. And through that, the Rocklandia ancestry, which is still negative, some people come out of that and change. Through that, the kidnapkins start remembering that, oh snap, you know, we're handkerchiefs. You know, and even the Itabas start to come out of what they've lost, the shock and trauma. But they're still in a state of figuring it out. If you can't look at it for what it is, you're not going to be able to solve anything. In this situation, from what I see, Dharma is the only solution. Rocklandia way is not going to work at all. That needs to be destroyed. And the Rocklandia tribe is going to die for a couple reasons if you look at karma. If you look at the SARS disease, and that was brought over, if you look at the genocide and warfare and taking over a place like cancer, when you provide a source of healing for the body of Itabia, it's going to need to clean out the cause. You know? So the cause is the Rocklandia stuff, and the invitation karmically, from what I've gone through and studied, would be the negative aspects of the Itaba downfall. So you have something that called it in, and then you have something that got way out of hand. And then you have the handkerchiefs realizing who they really are as being an uprising, but there's too much confusion. There's too much of a negative way of life that's been going on for about 600 years. And I'm not saying the accurate amount of years to get people away from, let's get away from doing it exactly like this. Just look at this. If this happened somewhere else, if this happened in Russia and it was the Russians invade China, ancient China, and enslave people from Indonesia, you know, how would you feel about the situation? I wouldn't feel like Russians need to still be in China. You know? I definitely wouldn't feel that way. And I feel like any person of Russian lineage in that particular storyline would know that there needs to be a return to that land and appreciation of that land and what that land had to offer. And the same thing, if the population of Indonesians is larger, then their traditions and way of life need to be used to uprise that land and restore land to the remaining small amount of Chinese that need to return to their native ways as well. And there needs to be a collective appreciation and a change and a let go of what this demonic-based place became. But in order to do that, positive change needs to be accepted. If you don't accept positive, purifying change, you're not going to really go anywhere. You know, and that's why people in this country aren't going anywhere. There's Al-Qibulan people that, just to start with, I think from the most, not only personal, but from the thing that I think is the least of the problems, Al-Qibulan people have difficulty admitting the horror of what they really went through and what it really digesting it and looking at what that means. Yeah. And then because you want to maintain black pride. I don't want to maintain black pride. I want to have Al-Qibulan confidence. You know, but when you're coming out of that kind of filth and horror, at least pride can get you out to a certain extent. Sure. But we're at the point where we need to have confidence in the Dharma. We're at that point. And for the Rocklandia people, or for the alternative world version of Russia invading China or something like that, you know, in the 1900s or 1500s or whatever, just based off of this situation, an alternate universe. You know, you want the people who are of Russian Nazi heritage that are leaving it to just, if I'm born like that, I would just bounce. I might try to work with the native communities and help them restore, but there's also a part of me that wants to know what it is to be a native Russian and doesn't want to have anything to do with what happened with the Rocklandias, the Itabas, and with the handkerchiefers. I want to be able to just get out and experience what it is to be a person. You know, by communicating with native people, by communicating with other countries where things are more restored, and going into Dharma and just figuring out how to clean out my ancestry and how can I make it so that when I bring children in, that they're Dharma children and not any of this. I just don't. Because I thought about it, because, you know, you're my friend. I've had other friends that are European American and from Europe growing up. I grew up in a mixed neighborhood in Philadelphia. I think that the plus, though, was Philadelphia was predominantly melanated. So European Americans that grew up around us were choosing to be around us, choosing not to be with gringos in other countries or in this country, choosing more so not to be a part of predominantly Caucasian neighborhoods. They knew why they were staying. And yeah, we still had issues, but they're just not like Oregon or not like even the West Coast. It's just a lot of reinforced New York City, DC, Jersey, and I'm in Philly. I have reinforcement everywhere without even realizing it.
Until you get over here.
Until I get it, yeah. Like, oh, there was reinforcement everywhere. Everybody knew there's a level of, you need to be grounded. Yeah, racism still happened. It just wasn't the rampant, like even like we didn't have, when I was growing up, we didn't have gangs. We had crews. You had your crew, you know? There was an independence about how you roll with people. Say like we were all like crew where I grew up at. You in the crew because you a man or because you're striving to be a man. If I get into a fight and cats is ready to jump me, I don't got to say anything. You already know what time it is. It's time to rock. You already know. And a lot of the European Americans, even where I grew up at, couldn't rock like that. So when the ones that could rock like that was about stuff, they would be with us. You would see them. These cats is tough. Doesn't mean they get to say the N-word. Doesn't mean they get to abuse a situation that we're allowing them into. It just means that they can rock. And they roll with us. And, hey, man, I got your back. You got my back. And we doing the brotherhood thing, and we kicking it. You know, same thing with the Caucasian sisters that were allowed in. They earned it. You know, so it's like if you don't learn how to live in that way, the earning, same thing with men and women. Men, in some ways, need to earn their way into women's lives
100%.
again.
100%. That's it right there, too.
You need to earn your way into it. Hey, I'm not trying to say there's not negative women, but when I look at it, men are messing up, man. They not the native, and I'm not just saying this from Native American Turtle Island perspective, but just in general. There's a thing about men being the protectors, being the providers, not in an abusive way, but just, when in the most traditional birthing sense of how all of us are brought here, the woman is nurturing and empowering internally. The man is the external support at that point in time. There are other times when that relationship shifts, but we need to be protecting. We need to be not cowards. We're seeing the result of men being cowards and being foolish, being ridiculous, and being abusive, whether they like it or not or want to accept it or not. This needs to change. And unless we have a mujihi aloha, a merciless compassion about it, it's not going to change. With any situation, with political, with so-called racial, with gender situation, whatever. If we're not look, you broke the 10 Commandments, or y'all broke the 5 Buddha precepts, or y'all broke the 10 Tao look, y'all are breaking the foundation of how we're supposed to be existing.
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah.
Yep. And so in our land here, what I was thinking of this too, it's it's going to take some of the Rocklandia people to realize they want to pull out of, they didn't realize what they were born into, right?
Yeah.
As they get older, the napkins, obviously the chief, what was it?
The handkerchiefers, yeah.
Start realizing their role in the new game and what's left of the
Itabas. Yeah.
They know, and then pieces of these generations are going to start talking to each other to rebuild it.
Yeah.
They're going to have, Rocklandia is going to have to relinquish some of that power.
Most of it.
Oh, of course. It's going to become a neutral thing where these other people can play at the same level. I was making a joke with the whole Standing Rock situation was the EPA for the United States needs to be given to the Native Americans.
Yeah.
They need to run the EPA.
Yeah.
We know that. That sounds like the most logical thing.
Yep.
But we know who's in the White House too, and the system we're in. So when I was talking about what's the conversation, I think that's a good way that we can take this into where we take our day, from this point is, what is our conversation now with people to start moving towards this situation, right?
Yeah.
Where we're talking to each other.
And then the other thing I'll add, in this situation where we have the Rocklandias, we have the handkerchiefers, who are in a slur, they're called the kidnapkins.
Yeah.
The people need to stop saying the N-word. I need to stop with the N-word mentality. Stop calling yourself a kidnapkin when you're a handkerchiefer. And then the Itabas, in this story that we live in, the handkerchiefers, many of them are mixed with Itaba, and were lied to about being mixed with Itaba so that they would not fight for Itabia and take it back, because the handkerchiefers' energy is particularly strong and is more likely to revolt and cause change, particularly Dharma, positive change, anywhere they go. And so there's a notorious thing that the Rocklandias feel towards the handkerchiefers about those are the only people that can really usurp them, and there's a fear about that. In the same way that Skeletor feared He-Man, or in the same way that Mumra feared Lion-O in Thundercats, or in the same way that in the Matrix movie, the Smith at the end feared Neo.
Sure.
So when we're choosing people need to remember these things, that these lessons we grew up with. Do you want to be with Mumra? Do you want to be with Skeletor? Is this what you want to do? Forget the fact that you were born into that. You're born into that, it makes it creepier to have to deal with. it makes it creepier, but it doesn't mean that you're supposed to support it. It's creepier, but it's like not like, okay, we're gonna go Skeletor.
Point of living to get to a conscious state where you can even make that decision.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
And awareness.
That's that word,
Yeah.
awareness. When
Yeah.
you become a human, and each of us as humans are becoming more aware every day we live, right? That's our process of unfolding. And so, none of us knows at what age or what day that is going to call for that human being to wake up and realize, oh my gosh, these people are being put in this situation. You're talking about maybe a 17 to 18 situation, or maybe a 21 to 22 situation where a young human kind of goes, oh, there's more injustices than I knew, and I didn't know this happened. And that, and then there's people like us who are getting older, realizing what is our role to start the events you're putting on, the shows we're putting on, the music we're making, to put some food for thought out there for these people. And that's what this AMOM is about. So I really appreciate you coming on this.
Yeah, and, man.
Speaking your awareness and consciousness.
It's like we're, as far as what I was saying about the 70 years of aloofness, in the United States of Rocklandia, the aloofness is a good thing. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's not Nazi America as we knew it from 1492 to, I would say, right when Vietnam got abolished. Because you're talking about Nazi America. You're talking about 1492 all the way to when the draft... All the way to the 73 when the draft got destroyed. If you really look at the spiritual context and meaning of the civil rights movement, what it attracted, and the draft was the end. The draft being destroyed was the end of the Nazi America that we know. Because now I can't tell him, if I'm the president, I can't be like, you, time to go. Time to go to Iraq. Time to go to wherever the hell I tell you to go. Or else we're going to defame you. You're not going to be a part of our country. You're going to be disrespected. We're going to throw you in jail. We might even kill you if you got too much spunk in you. You better do what the hell I tell you to do. And go over there and get shot at and maybe get killed and maybe survive and maybe come back with a lot of mental problems. Because basically, I own you. I tell you that you're upper class. I tell you that you get to have a good life and you get to have a certain kind of life. I tell you that you can't talk to people in the lower class. I tell you what to do. And don't you forget that. You can play pretend the rest of your life, have a car and smile, but we all know I run the government and who controls the government. We tell y'all what to do, and don't you forget it. And this is how European Americans existed within that. They're still in a different level being enslaved themselves. It didn't hit me until this brother, this Caucasian brother told me, because he got drafted, about his experience in Vietnam. And it just kind of, because I've always never liked people that join the military. No disrespect to people who got drafted and stuff, but it was just a different mentality that I had. And then when I heard this guy talk about being drafted, going into Vietnam and what he went through and how he found a divine source from all the times he got protected and eventually made it out, even though his karma's rough, it was just like, whoa. I felt it when he was saying it. I was just like, can you imagine
Apparently St. Francis was a soldier.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Came back from the Crusades. A saint.
As much as I don't like, as much as I don't like America at all, and as much issues as I have with any negative play into the demonic support of anything, including what happened in this country, it was just that's a different world than what I know. And then when I had a African American brother tell me about when they were rioting in the 60s after Malcolm got killed, I think it was. And he told me about when they rioted when Martin Luther King Jr. got killed. it was the more closer I got to leaving society, and then actually leaving, training to become a monk, and then becoming a monk, the more sensitive I got. So people would talk to me, and it was like they would take me back in time with them. And this particular conversation with this brother in 2011, where he told me about, because he was in the riots, what it was like, I was like, whoa. This is not the world that I know. Like, I would never want to live in that world. Like, they were coming out of, like, that was hell. Like, you think what we're going through, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but just, no. I really wanted to make this clear, like, brother, you know.
Well, I'm just trying to, like, sum it up, to finish it up for the day, like, you know, the conversation we're having is a conversation that needs to continue to be had, and, you know, I'm really glad that we, again, got to sit down and continue to talk about the times we're living in and what it is to be a human in these times. Yeah. And us dealing with all those years of Rocklandia being the way it's been and how we're the ones trying to come out of it and raise awareness to allow these people a chance out. Yeah. But you don't have to be that, you know. A friend of ours at work, real quick, is in that perfect example, telling me about their childhood, the racism around them constantly, and asking me, what do I do? What do I do when I don't want to be that way anymore? What do I want to do when my family is saying these things and I want out? And I was telling this person, well, you're one of the lucky ones. You get to stop the pattern. Yeah. You're the one in your family that can go, not me. Y'all can ride on to the sunset with that. But I'm going a different direction, and you're taking your DNA your family's DNA in a different direction. Oh. And yes, that's what we're hoping can happen for people. If they want
to participate in off the cliff top hip hop, you want to do? I'm gonna keep it roots. Yeah. You know, you want to do that? Yeah. It's your choice. You want to jump off the cliff? Yeah. Okay.
See? That was a lot of perspective. You really moved around a lot of energy in me today.
Thanks, man.
Sitting next to you.
Big old plate of food for thought.
The camera probably caught me stretching like 5 times. I was just like, okay. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah, so thank you, Mmmingpha.
Yeah. Definitely.
Guy from Media.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Z.
Thank you to everybody here.
Yeah.
Namaste. Much respect.
Namaste.
And
much respect.
I want to say, like, to everybody watching that gets the blessings to watch this, remember, breathe slow and be into the deepest aspect of your heart. When I say merciless compassion, I'm not saying that to say that anything that will lead to killing. I am saying that we do need to defend ourselves if somebody needs to be neutralized or crippled because they're in a killing mentality and are going to cause a lot of people to lose their lives. Yes, they need to be neutralized, not killed, but crippled, taken out, so they can reflect on what they've done. Right. But nonetheless, made immobile to be able to cause not to be able to cause problems for other people. And along with that, breathing slow and embracing and looking at things the way that the people that have most benefited us, the prophets, the leaders, activists, and the deep visionaries that have helped us get to where we're at from all sorts of different ancestries. What were they in? They definitely were not in a flow of separatism. The shaman, monks, and deep spiritual people from all over the planet were unified with the heartbeat of the planet and the heartbeat of the universe and the breath of life of the universe. And until we go into that, learning what that is, learning what that means, and letting go of the I, what I think I am and I'm here to do, and not looking at what we're here to do, this is not going to go much of anywhere. You're just going to have a little bit of a revolution and then perpetuate more nonsense. We can completely obliterate the karma. We can go into Dharma. We can go into Dhama and live a genuine life and move forward. It's going to take a lot of letting go, though. a lot of release. And to release, breathing slow is vital. Namaste.
Namaste.
Sounds of AM.